Welcome to the Journey Podcast. I am your host, Josh Valentine, and today I have the honor and privilege of interviewing someone who is an industry icon, someone who is not only a philanthropist, but an amazing family man. And today I'm really excited to get to interview the one and only Mr. Sanjay Srinivasan.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show, brother.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you. Absolutely. And you're the CEO. We're here at your amazing facility here, and you're the CEO of Global Promo. And I really, really would love it if you can just share with the audience a little bit about your journey and what has led to all of this. I believe that you're originally from California, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Made your way to Florida, later on in life. But tell us a little bit about your backstory and what was life like for you growing up?
Yeah, man. Great question. Thanks for having me. Again, everything in my life has always been about the hustle. Started at a very young age in the business world, and I traded baseball cards, and it was interesting because a lot of people have always asked me, what did it take you to get to, for you to get to where you are, right?
Sure.
And a lot of it was, really the foundation and the principles that I picked up at a very young age. That was baseball cards were my stock market, right? You just buy a pack of cards, get a rookie card, and then there was a thing called a Beckett, which gave valuations of the baseball card. So the better the player did, the card would go up. So I'd sell, buy, trade. And that hustle was something that just kind of started and paved my way into the business world.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
I heard a story of you as well. When you were younger, you would like flip and sell candy that your parents would probably go to Costco.
Yeah.
And I resonated with that. I did the same exact thing in high school just to get by. And where does that hustle spirit come from? Is it something that you're born with, or is it something that just develops over time?
I believe in my case, I was born with it. I come from a lineage of businessmen, right? My father, my grandfather, and his father before him were always in the business world. And I truly think that was a testament to the way I was raised and brought up. And that had a big part in my acumen for sure.
That's incredible. Tell us a little bit about your family. Are they originally from California, or did they migrate to America at some point in time?
Yeah. So my parents, I'm first generation American, Indian American. So my parents migrated here from India. And my father came here to get a better education, higher education. He came here and did his master's at Texas Tech University.
Oh, nice.
And then he settled, and they from Texas moved to Los Angeles, where I was born. So he was an engineer, and he had bits and pieces and investments in businesses and so forth as well. And he did some retail. And that kind of, that's how my life started in LA. And then when our family as a whole moved to Orlando, and I never left. I mean, this is paradise to me. I love Florida.
Sure.
I love Orlando, and I don't see myself ever leaving. You've got the best of all worlds.
Absolutely.
It's a little hot, especially nowadays. It cooks a little bit, but I wouldn't mind that the month or two of misery with the heat to trade to wear flip flops and shorts in December, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, Florida's home.
That's amazing. Now, you say Florida's home, Orlando's home, but have you been to India?
Yes, many times.
India.
I've had the great blessing in life of being able to travel and have had many experiences throughout many parts of the world. And India is one amongst my favorite parts of the world.
Same here.
I always tell people, if you can stomach the two P's, India is the most beautiful country in the world. Poverty and pollution.
Yeah, that's right.
You have a lot of poverty and a lot of pollution, but it's rich in natural resources, a lot of landmarks. You've got religious and cultural connotations. You've got great temples and so forth.
And the Taj.
The Taj Mahal. And it's
gorgeous.
It's amazing. And truthfully, look, the people are amazing there too.
Yeah.
It's a very friendly country. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what you're seeing in society today. You see a lot of the Indian Americans, very personable. You see them as physicians or professionals.
Absolutely.
And I'm super proud of heritage.
Highest income out of all the demographics in the United States, Indians rank number one.
That's right.
It's funny because you're in Orlando. A lot of people complain about the traffic, but if you go to New Delhi, you probably would think twice about the traffic.
I mean, anybody's ever seen any traffic like that? I mean, it's
family of five on one motorcycle.
On one motorcycle, yeah, front, back, yeah.
I had an Indian driver. He said, "There's three things you need to make it in New Delhi as a driver." He said, "You need good brakes, a good horn, and good luck.
Yeah.
So
That's all right.
it's a beautiful place. I love. I did philanthropy over there as well. I know you're big into philanthropy, which we'll talk about here shortly. But I had the opportunity to go and not only send a bunch of kids off to school, but teach children on health and sanitation,
Wow.
things like that, which is a big deal over in India.
It certainly is.
All
He's
the
a-
kids either want to be engineers or doctors.
Yeah.
You ask every kid, it's like programmed in
Yeah.
their mind.
Yeah.
Why not you?
Well, here's, look, I was on my path of, I'm super scared of blood. So I don't even wanted to,
Yeah.
being in medicine was completely out of the equation.
Sure.
I did really want to venture into business and really specialize in business. And it was one of those things that there was a void and I wanted to fill that void. And back then when I started my business career, there wasn't too many Indians in the business side of things.
Mm.
Like you said, they're physicians and, hotel owners,
Yep.
but really more on the resort and hospitality side. I really wanted to transform that thought. And now you see a lot of Indians that are business leaders today.
Yeah, man. They're killing it. I love just learning from the family values as well. Apparently, Indians, I think, have the most successful marriage rates as well. Traditionally speaking, I'm sure you probably know of this.
Yes,
And-
yes.
What was that like with your family? Were they super strict with you? Were they just, hardcore with the discipline and all that? What was it like growing up in a traditional Indian home?
The discipline was always there. It's more respect versus discipline. I mean, discipline is something that everybody should have,
Mhm.
right? You're born with discipline, and it's funny because a lot of kids and a lot of people, they stray away from it.
Yeah.
I think life is discipline.
Mhm.
You have to be regimented and disciplined, but where the philosophies of our family and India and Indians as a whole has always been about respect.
Yeah.
You respect your elders, you respect other people.
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter what walks of life or how old they are, whatever it is. You have to show a sign of respect,
Most definitely.
and that's critical. And that's what resonated with me through my childhood,
Yeah.
into me growing up, into adulthood, right? But going back to what your question is, a lot of the strict applications of having the grades and having the responsibilities and the duties and all that. I mean, my upbringing was, listen, you go to school, get grades,
Yeah.
have fun while you do it.
Of course.
Go do your thing. Just don't get in trouble,
Yeah.
but have fun.
Absolutely.
But show me the grades,
Of course.
right? So that was kind of what I had to do. So when all my buddies were out getting in trouble and in junior high school and high school and stuff like that, I wasn't really getting in trouble. I was going out with them, but I was coming out at a decent time in order to study to get good grades.
Of course.
Right.
Of course. Would you say that you've always had a chip on your shoulder, just being from India in the business world, in the marketplace, just being out there and going up against certain resistance, maybe just landing certain deals or dealing with certain business partners?
Yeah, no, I think there's for me growing up as an Indian American, especially in the time.
Mm.
So it's super important because the time where I grew up in the 80s and 90s was very different from today, where everything's built more accepted, right? So did I have a chip on my shoulders? I certainly did. And it was more of the people that said, you can't do this. You're not good enough,
That's right.
right? Those are the guys I wanted to show and
Of
prove,
course.
whether it be my teachers, whether it be my friends, whether it be my peers,
Mhm.
right? Those were the guys that I wanted to prove wrong.
Yeah.
It wasn't I had this attitude and this ego or anything. No, you think I can't do it? I'm going to show you I can do it.
That's right. Yeah.
Let me work hard to do it,
Absolutely.
right? So,
Yeah, I love that correlation because business is a sport, as you know, and to have that worthy enemy, that worthy opponent that you can have to kind of drive you and motivate you and push you to excel
Yeah.
is everything. So,
for sure.
yeah. Now, when you were in high school, you went on after high school to pursue a formal education. I believe you went to, is it Florida Central?
I went to UCF.
UCF.
UCF, yeah.
University of Central
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
And what did you study there?
So I was a spying attorney, believe it or not, and I was in the pre-law program. But I in my sophomore year when I transferred into UCF,
Mhm.
I ended up declaring business as my minor.
Mhm.
So that was my really thing. That was my thing. Like and I knew right then I didn't want to read all these case
Of
briefs and case analysis about things that I'm not interested in.
Yep.
Look, I like to read, but only the things that I'm interested in.
Absolutely.
And business were literally the only books that I used to get that I used to read cover to cover because I was interested in it.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself then, I was 17 years old. I'm like, look, I got a shift here. I don't want to be an attorney anymore.
Yeah.
I want to get into business. Business is my passion. We're talking earlier, I was trading baseball cards when I was 10 years old,
Yeah.
but then I was selling candy out of my backpack in high school. Right. And that's
Yeah.
always been the thrill. It was always the hustle and the challenge,
Of course.
not necessarily measuring it and how much money I made, but measuring it and, okay, I got this for X amount and I'm selling it for this amount. I've got this much profit. What do I do with that?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was always the thrill was always in the hunt. So
And you went for your master's.
I did.
And after graduating with your master's, did you pursue a traditional career and then get into entrepreneurship, or did you dive straight into the business world?
Yeah, dove straight into the business world. My dad co-signed a loan for me when I was right out of my undergrad. So I did my grad school while I started my first business. I started that in 95 and I took that public via acquisition in 2005. And it was J Jewelry. It was a jewelry company. I loved, shell jewelry at that time was very popular. And then we got into body jewelry with all the girls getting their belly buttons pierced and their eyebrows pierced and their tongues and whatever. So that kind of transformed into the jewelry business. So had a nice 10-year run with that and sold it essentially and moved on. But that was my first business. And my dad was gracious enough to co-sign a loan for me.
Yeah.
And for when I started the business.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, was it a huge success right from the jump, or did you have to encounter all kinds of obstacles? I know you've mentioned the importance of going through failure throughout your journey, but what was that like for you when you first embarked on it?
Wow. Yeah, that was tough. I mean, look, when you're entering into a market, I'd studied and I did enough analysis to understand that there was voids in the marketplace. There was opportunities. So when I would be, getting different advice or direction or feedback or no's, but it was a constant hustle, it was a struggle. We had to pave our way into that business and I lined up, I hired the right people at the right time. They helped transform the business. Again, I'll take credit, whatever, but it's not always me. It's never about you or me or anything else. It's about us and we, right? So I surrounded myself with great individuals that helped propel the business to where I got to.
Absolutely.
So, it was definitely a struggle. It wasn't easy. And we earned every penny, at that point and still do, right? So
absolutely. Now you have a son in his 20s. And he's killing it right now, doing his thing.
He's doing all right,
out there. And I know you're super proud of him. I got to hear some of your interviews in the past, and what was that like for you when you first had your son? I got 3 little boys myself, and I know it's not for the faint at heart. It's a completely different dynamic bringing family into the business realm. But what were those early days like for you as a father?
Yeah, man, I'll tell you the best day of my life, before, now, and in the future was the birth of my son. Like there's just nothing that's ever going to replace that moment, that time. It was just truly special. And him and I were super close, and he's a great kid. But unfortunately, my legacy planning doesn't involve any of my businesses.
Absolutely.
He's like he wants to pave his own way, and he started his own company, which he's 20 years old. He's in college and started Global Medical Supply, so he's doing good with that. And my goal for him is I want to lead him in the right direction. I want to give him the advice. I want him to not make the same mistakes that I made. Now I want him to make mistakes because he is going to learn from them in his respective field, but at the same time, if there's things that he can avoid,
of course,
I want him to understand and know it and avoid it, but understand the reasons why he's avoiding it. Not just say, hey, do this, don't do this, without explaining myself.
Yeah, most definitely.
So you gotta, that's the thing. But yeah, man, it's a true joy. It's a joy of life.
Yeah.
You have 3 kids and that, to me, that's what life's about, right? You have the right partner, you have the right child, you have the right business, and you surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah, most definitely. As a father, I'm a huge advocate for higher education, but you obviously don't really need it in the business world.
Right.
Why in the world would you still send them off to college? Is it like a safety net? Is it a fallback? Is it social status? Is it relationship capital? Like what's the reasoning behind that?
So I think my father told me once a long time ago is like, God can't ever take away your degree, right? There is something that you learn, whether you pick up 5%, you retain 10%, 15%, whatever it is at a college. I think it's very important, but it doesn't stop there. I also think you establish a different type and set of friends and your peers,
That's right.
your network.
The relationship.
The
Yeah.
relationships that you develop in college are very different from high school. Because
Very true.
a lot of times in high school, you're a kid growing into a young man, and in college, you're a young man growing into a man.
Mhm.
And those, and I find I have many friends of mine that I keep in touch with today, that I associate with, that I'm in college, right? That are different types of relationships. Yeah, I've got my buddies that I grew up with that we went to high school and went to parties. It's just a different dynamic.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think there's value to that. There's certainly value to still furthering your education,
Mhm.
and you still, learning those things of, keeping those disciplinary skills as far as going to class and performing and doing well and reading and stuff like that. But yeah, I am an advocate of higher education.
Yeah, for sure. Now, if let's just say your son's company just explodes and he, let's say, encounters a Mark Zuckerberg kind of situation where it makes way more sense to dive deeper into the business because of the growth and scaling it, would you encourage him to just stop the school altogether and go back to it, or just finish it one time and
Yeah, I think, now, we're it's a blessing to have the flexibility of doing online classes
Mhm.
and doing summer classes and so forth. So to me, I think it would be valuable if he did hit it big.
Yeah,
And he's a man at this point. I can only advise him and guide him.
of course.
But at the same time, would I like for him to pursue and finish his his bachelor's degree and possibly grad school? Absolutely.
Yeah,
And so at some point, I'd want him to make that decision for himself, because again, he's a man,
absolutely.
and he can kind of make those decisions and pay the price
Yeah,
for it if it ends up being a bad decision, right?
that's right. If you don't mind me asking, what's his major?
He's a business major. He's in the business program at UCF too.
Yes, is he enjoying the college?
He's enjoying it, and he's got a good group of people around him, and he's in the same fraternity I was in college, so we're kind of double legacy.
Nice.
Super proud of that too, man. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So walk me through what was early Sanjay like mid-20s going into your 30s. Were you always living in abundance and prosperity, or was it very humble beginnings and you kind of built yourself up later into your late 30s? I know for many men, they tend to blossom when they get into their 40s. Was that the case for you, or did you hit it big and just sustain that lifestyle, that quality of living, that paradigm since the very beginning?
Oh, great question. That was, taking it back, in high school, I had to work, right? My parents, were well off, I'd say upper middle class, or whatever, but they made me work, and I chose to work.
Of course.
So I was at 16 years old. My first job was at Universal Studios
Mm,
in high school. In fact, I got hired right out of my high school, Doc Phillips High School, right down the street. And I worked. I worked every summer. I worked every winter break, spring break,
yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Mm,
I worked.
yeah.
So I was a seasonal employee,
Mm,
but I worked, right. So I think that in itself, because my father bought me a car,
mm,
right. But anything you want to do to it, you got to work to do.
yeah.
You want to put gas in it,
Yeah.
you better work to go put your gas in it.
Most definitely.
You want to fix it up and get rims and do it up, which I did.
Yeah,
Speakers, the whole nine, right? So,
Sure.
I'd work in order to do that. So, and that taught me a lot, right? So I had to work for everything that I earned and got.
Absolutely.
So then, yeah, then we were, I was blessed, fortunate enough to do well in the first business and took it public. And like I said, via acquisition. And, the lifestyle that I chose to lead was very modest at that time.
Mm,
But, again, look, when you look and you dive deep into your likes and your wants and your desires, that is very different. But those are all attributed to how hard you work.
of course.
And that's the key, right? So a lot of people don't realize that, whether they see somebody on social media and they're coming off of jets and planes, and in some cases, it took hard work to get there,
Yeah.
right? That's the
Absolutely.
most real
Yeah.
cases, right? So that to me, it's a direct correlation
Mm,
between the two.
yeah.
You want to play hard? You want to play? Well, you better work hard in order to play.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
So,
Yeah. No, I love that. It's funny because Trey and I were actually listening to one of your podcasts, and I really resonated. You're like, Tuesdays, you're not on the golf course.
no,
Monday through Friday, it's go time.
go time.
And you'll be the weekend warrior, but
Yeah,
Monday through Friday, we're getting to this bag, and
that's
I
right.
love that. I get goosebumps about it because I'm a big proponent of the philosophy, work like a captain, pay like a pirate, right?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
And, you mentioned hard work. You mentioned also teaching your sons from the mistake or the mistakes that you learned from. As a father, what has been some of those lessons for you? Because I'm a huge advocate as well for my kids seeing me work. I probably went to like 5 different cities over the last few weeks, and they're always seeing me on the go. Now, do you believe in like teaching him from your example, or just preaching to him like, hey, you have to work hard, you have to go after what you want? What were some of those principles passed on early on?
So I think a lot of that in my case and my son's case, I think a lot of it is visual.
Mm,
So, when you tell kids, you can only tell them so much
of
and they
course.
can only retain X
Absolutely.
amount.
Yeah.
But what they see,
Mhm.
the visual thing,
Very true.
they'll remember. It resonates, it burns in their brain. So it's about the experience. Like, look, you want to go to Greece and have an experience, right? You can hear about it, read about it, but when you go and experience it, it's a
Mm,
different story.
yeah.
So that to me is the way that I do things,
Of
right?
course.
So I can tell him so much, and again, the way I get through to him or anybody for that matter, right? You are your own example.
Of course.
So if I am working hard and he sees me hustling, or if he sees me in a business presentation, or if he sees me around or client meetings or whatever, vendor meetings, right? If he's around it, he sees it, he visualizes it,
Absolutely.
he
Yeah.
does it.
Yeah. Does he ever bring up like just the memories of not seeing you ever, or you ever feel like that lack of being there all the time? Did it have any effect on him long term?
I think we talk about all the great things and the great moments of life, man. But honestly, some of my things that hurt me the most are sacrifices,
No.
right?
No.
So because I was hustling and working and traveling, right? Got an office overseas and in China and in India, but I had to sacrifice a lot in my life. And the things that matter the most to me
Mhm.
are the sacrifices that I made for my child.
Yeah.
I didn't see his first steps, didn't hear his first words.
Mm,
Now that is a sacrifice, at least in my eyes,
absolutely.
the most sacrifice. Does that affect or hurt him? I don't think so. I hope not,
Mhm.
because I did it for him.
That's right.
But those are the things that I missed out on the
Of
most,
course.
right? So yeah, that's
Zero
sacrifice.
regrets, I'm assuming.
Zero regrets because I had no choice. So had I had a choice, it would have been a different story. I would have been with him
Mhm.
10 times out of 10. I would have been there to see his first steps.
Most
Come
definitely.
on, right? And 10 times out of 10, I would have been there to hear his first words.
Yeah.
But, again, the situation was like that. And I had to do what I had to do.
Yeah, most definitely. I respect it, brother. And I know today a lot of people probably, they see the cars, they see the lifestyle, they see all of this stuff. I think I actually came across your page from you being on a golf course somewhere. Yeah. And after like doing my research, I'm like, man, this guy's pretty badass. But
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
I'm curious, right? In terms of the downside of entrepreneurship, the dark side, the aspect of it that's not so glorious. We typically get praised in public for what we do in private, which is very hard work. And what would you say were some of the darkest moments for you along the way that a
Yeah.
lot of people probably have never seen?
The darkest moments, man, it was when you can't make payroll.
Of course,
Like,
of course.
you not being able to eat is one thing,
Mm.
but then your employees who already work for you
Yeah.
potentially could not be able to eat is another,
Mhm.
right? So, those are the dark moments. Losing a deal, thinking about, readjusting your inventory, thinking about, figuring out your finance department. Like those are the keys. But as far as the darkest times, man, I've been in situations where I had to leverage my credit cards
Mhm.
in order to make payroll. Like
course.
those are the things that are the darkest moments. And then losing deals. Like
Yeah.
nobody likes to lose, right?
Absolutely.
And especially me, I don't like to lose. So, those are some of the dark times.
Mm.
And then, look, you're always going to be hitting walls. Majority of the time you go into business, you're selling a product or service, right? And in my case, when I would try to sell a product
Mhm.
and it didn't perform, or I couldn't get it in the door, or I was just getting no's and roadblocks,
Mhm.
right? But again, that old saying, like when one door closes, another one opens, right? So that's a mentality that you have to have.
Mhm.
And that's very important in business and in life, really.
Most definitely. How I know you're big on coaching and mentoring, especially as it pertains to your team. What would you recommend for the entrepreneur who's starting out? Let's say they're struggling with making payroll, or just struggling with landing certain deals, and they have a lot of stress, they have a lot of anxiety, a lot of overwhelm. What did you do to navigate through that? Was it just leaning on your spirituality, or physically getting in the gym? What was it for you to just kind of help get you to navigate through those dark seasons?
Yeah, my release and my go-to is meditation in the gym. Like those are my release. And now playing golf, not very well, but I'm playing. I'm trying to get better. But those are therapy. Those are therapeutic for me because I can sit back and collect my thoughts. When I meditate every morning, it's a reset button for your brain,
Of course.
at least in my case, right? It completely resets. I get to just channel my thoughts and figure out what I want to do. And then when I work out, which is in the morning also, I'll do my weights and then I'll do cardio. And then while I do my cardio, which is 20 minutes, I'm literally sitting planning out my day. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this. Got to get this done. I got to get this project out the door. I got to get this RCOM done. I got to go, I have a meeting with this client. So I get to plan out my day, maximizing my time.
For sure.
And I'm thinking about just that because, in life, everybody has a lot going on, right? If it's not a family thing, it's a friend thing. If it's not a friend thing, it's a business thing. If it's not a business thing, it's a health thing. If it's not a health thing, it's a wealth, right?
Absolutely.
So you really got to choose and take advantage of the opportune time.
Yeah, most definitely. I like what you mentioned before on another interview. You mentioned how the construction worker, for example, they're still going to be working their ass off. They're still going to be encountering different stress, but you're doing it with your own thing.
That's right. That's right.
And I can connect with that in a major way. And how do you navigate? And I'm very curious myself, through uncertainty when you're not sure if this deal is going to go through. Are you like, what's the attitude, the mindset going into that game plan? Are you putting contingencies in place just in case it doesn't follow through? Or are you like overly skeptical? Like, this is great if it clears. And I know you mentioned it with your son also, like he'll go on, spend money on certain things before the deal gets cut. Right. Yeah. So for you, how do you navigate through that specifically?
There's always benefit to have a contingency plan. I always put together a deal. Now, am I disappointed if my deal doesn't close or if I don't get what I want or our company doesn't perform or sell a product or whatever it is? Am I disappointed? Absolutely. But is my life depending on it? No. And that's why you got to step back and think like, look, nothing has changed. Like if you get this deal, you earn it, great. If you retain the business that you currently have, great. But if it doesn't happen, get something else.
Yeah, most definitely.
Like, so I'm not going to be hung up on failure.
Yeah.
I'm not. I refuse to.
Of course.
I never have, I never will. But
Absolutely.
if where I will get hung up on is if I fail here, I better make it up somewhere else. If I fail there again, I better keep trying until I do.
Right.
Those are the things. That's the attitude I have. I'm an optimist for sure. I don't have a pessimistic bone in my body, but I'm also a realist.
Of course.
Right. And that's the mentality that I've had.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm curious to hear a little bit about not only dark seasons, but your dark side. And it's funny, I was talking to Trey about this. I get a very humble spirit from you. I can tell that you have a wonderful staff here, but I can also tell that you have a dark side to you, meaning like when it comes to competition, there's this maniacal part of you that's part of like, I'm going to destroy this competition.
For sure.
And anyway, what's your philosophy when it comes to just competing in the marketplace and winning at all costs?
Yeah. So my competition and my mindset is very much that I'm in a game. I'm playing a game. I'm playing a sport that I love. Okay. I am, talk about Mamba mentality. I love Kobe Bryant, just his Mamba mentality. I mean, that just resonates to me and just his work ethic and everything that he did. And all the greats, man. When you look at any of the talented musicians or athletes or whatever it is, tremendous amount of respect for those guys, man. I mean, and guys like Kobe, especially, where he had the attributes to be great, right? Already. Did he have to work out 3-4 times a day? Probably not. He'd still be one of the best, but he wanted to be the best. So going back, like, I love annihilating competition. I am not going to deny that. There's nothing that, I feel very rewarded by that. I don't take too kind. Like I said, I don't like to lose. If I do lose, I am not going to hang my hat down. I'm not, but At the same time, do I get in? Do I go into a game or go into a war trying to lose? No, I'm going to win. I want to win.
Sure.
And I will annihilate my competition. I'm going to do it, professionally.
Of course.
I'm never going to
Ethically.
I'm never going to be out of line ethically. I'm never going to be out of line ever.
Mhm.
I wasn't raised that way. I wasn't born that way. But am I, if a guy, even to this day in my business, I have a lot of competitors that are my friends where we're very cordial with each other. In fact, I don't know one competitor in my industry that I'm not friends with.
For sure. Yeah, that's incredible. They say every great winner has this worthy enemy, and your enemies sort of evolve over time depending on what you have going on, depending on the season. What these days for you is a worthy enemy? Is it a company? Is it a person? Is it the government? Whatever, the case may be. But what drives you and gets you off your ass even when you don't feel like working?
Time,
Mm.
time, money, nothing can buy time. What are you always challenging yourself against? Time. What are you measured on? Time, time. That is something that I want to, with the short amount of time, I don't know. Hopefully it'll be 50 years. It could be 40, it could be 30, it could be 20, it could be a day.
Yeah.
But that is what I'm challenged with. That is what I think about. The time that I get to spend with my loved one, the time that I get to keep building my businesses, the time that I get to enjoy golfing or meditating or working out. That is something that I always am battling against. And everybody is, right? When you think about it,
Very true.
right?
Yeah.
So it's time.
Love that answer. Now, global promo. Tell us a little bit about just the business model, if you don't mind. I see you have all kinds of operations under
Yeah.
here. We came here like, man, this is a full blown out operation. You got people handling, your warehousing and all this
Yeah.
and containers and all that. Tell us a little bit about your business model and how it even came to be.
Yeah. So we manufacture products for the theme parks, attractions, and resorts, but also do manufacturing for brands and corporate clients, corporate identity, promotional products. So we've got great partners. We deal with, Fortune 500 companies. We deal with, Bob's AC and Plumber down the road.
Mm.
One of the things that we do, and some of the things that I've always attested is I want to foster small business
For sure.
and help them grow.
Of course.
Whatever we can do to help them, we will. So we actually manufacture product and we produce product vertically.
Mm.
So headwear, drinkware, and apparel are our specialties,
Mhm.
but we also have other products that, kind of bolt onto our product line.
Mhm.
So you can find our product in theme parks. You can find our products in airport stores.
Progress.
You can find our product at a guy selling, timeshare. So yeah, I mean, we're pretty vertical in our approach. So
That's amazing.
thank
That's
you.
amazing. Are you personally making those calls, or do you have like a team of people that's reaching out to new clients?
We've got a great team. We've got sales reps. We've got teams that are dedicated to certain verticals, and they're assigned to those verticals. I kind of manage the blue chip clients that we have. I've got relationships with a lot of my clients and have become very good friends with them.
Right.
So it's for me, it's a pleasure to
Absolutely.
deal with those guys. We've got a great core group, over 100 employees
Right.
we keep trying to grow, get into different markets and so forth. And we got various divisions, under the global umbrella.
That's amazing. So with all these incredible things you have going on, as we bring it in for landing here, what's next? What's next? What's beyond this? What's the next level for you? What is your goal today? Even with all the success that you have, what's the next level for you?
So the next level is to grow professionally, personally. I still think that there is room to grow.
Mm.
You're always trying to get better. I'm not convinced that I'm the best, or anybody in this world is the best, right? You're not. You're continually you're gonna keep learning and understanding. You're gonna expand your knowledge. So for me, personal growth is always a key area of trying to get better. Business growth is always, we always want to outsell what we did last year and outperform it. And whether it be revenue basis or exposure basis. So I want to grow this company more.
Yeah.
That's my goal, is to keep growing.
Absolutely. And I know you guys take, obviously, a lot of the revenue that you earn with the company and you do philanthropy. And the last question I have for you is, what do you want your legacy to be as it pertains to the philanthropy that you build around the world or you're involved with around the world, and also the legacy as it pertains to global promo?
Yeah, I think it's always good to give back. And to me, and again, going back to the time, it's either time or money. And in my case, I give them both. And I think it's important that it's personally gratifying for me. I'm involved with Runway to Hope. I'm on the board. I was asked to be on the board last year, and it's great, man. I mean, look, we support pediatric cancer. Like, it's heartwarming and breaking at the same time, where you can support, but then you see some of these kids that are literally here today and gone tomorrow. It's crazy. So I mean, to me, if we can help that cause and we can help the families, it's really gratifying. And then I'm involved with some other causes that are somewhat similar, but really want to give back in India as well. I've sponsored a school there for kids to get a better education. Giving them computers and laptops and so forth where they can't afford it. So yeah, it's personally gratifying for me.
Nice.
For
And
sure.
on the topic of just giving back, what would be the last words you would share for an aspiring entrepreneur just starting out like yourself and maybe they're on the come up, but they need some inspiration for this entrepreneurial journey that's very difficult and requires a lot of hard work? What would be some of the words that you would share?
So it's all about working hard, and you've always heard that work hard and smart, right? You've got to have a hybrid between the two. And I think that now you have to be a visionary, right? More than anything, you have to you have to be prepared to get shut down. That is something that is going to happen. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when,
Most definitely.
right? That is going to happen. So you need to really stay positive, stay focused, get a clear path direction, right? Never take no for an answer. Keep hustling, and keep trying. But it's hard work, man. Work, work, work. That's it. Discipline, rigor, and discipline. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And we're going to bring it for a landing right there. That's amazing, brother. Thank you so much. Where can our audience find you?
Ag Global, we can find me on Instagram, Sanjay Sri CEO. Yeah, I would love to hear more about what you're doing too. So
Absolutely. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you
thanks so
so
much,
much,
man.
man.
Appreciate
It was a
you.
pleasure. And that is a wrap, guys. Stay tuned for the very next episode of the Journey Podcast. Like, comment, share, tag, and make sure you follow our boy Sanjay. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.